All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you happen to be either watching this live or catching the recording. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a bit different than our normal. Usually we do these on Thursdays. This week is a little bit crazy, so we're doing it on a Tuesday. Hopefully that works for your schedule. We have a great show today talking about cloud native events for Adobe Experience Manager. But before we jump into that, I wanted to again remind folks that November 6th, we have a fantastic event. Pretty much a day, I guess more like a half a day, but our developers live event is coming up on November 6th. That is Monday, 2 weeks from, I guess, yesterday. And it is talking about content. So we'll be talking about Adobe Experience Manager, sites, and we'll be talking about commerce this time, as well as extensibility. So we'll have some content in there about App Builder, and I believe, one of our presenters has a session as well on the commerce side. So definitely, if you haven't registered for that, you can use the QR code on the screen, and we look forward to seeing you on November 6th. So why don't I bring on the folks that are going to talk to us today. So we've got Peter, who is a senior product manager. How's it going, Peter?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. And then we have not, we weren't sure if she was going to join us, but we've got Kanika, who was just getting over being sick. So common thing at this time of the year. But we are delighted that you are better and that you could join us, Kanika. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Peter.
So Kanika, you are a senior product manager for Adobe Developer Platform, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So this is actually the first thing for me. Peter, you've had a full day because you're in Switzerland, right?
That's true.
But we had the day off yesterday. Adobe thankfully gives its employees, it's once a month, right? There's a day off that they strategically place someplace in there, usually to give you a long day, a weekend or what have you. And this is kind of a carryover from the pandemic, but as an employee, it is a delightful thing that we still get that just kind of gives us time to recharge. I don't know if you guys did anything interesting. I just kind of spent the day with my kids.
I spent the day with my husband and my dog.
Right on. Excellent.
Yeah, this Global Wellbeing Day is really a gift, and it helps a lot on doing stuff that's usually falling short, family activities, things that needs to be done. But yesterday, I shamefully have to say, I didn't even realize, I didn't check my calendar. So I started to work and started to ignore my colleagues on Slack already.
I did see something from you in the morning, and I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that does happen to me too as well. I'm like, wait, we've got a day off. Okay, fantastic. Anyways, so we are talking today about cloud native events for Adobe Experience Manager. Kanika, since you manage events for the Adobe Developer Platform, maybe it would be great to kind of kick us off and talk about like what are events? Why do we care about events? Why are they? What are like? Yeah, give us the lowdown on events.
Okay, so hey Ron,
Hey Kanika.
that is actually an event. I said something, and that was a response that Ron gave me. And anything which you want to respond, get a response from, is an event. So, in a more technical language, all the developers can actually create predefined event-based integrations using our events. And that integrations are gonna trigger when something meaningful happens. Example, when we just started this live stream, we were in the backstage and Ron moved us over, which was kicking an event of moving us up here, talking to all of you. And it was like, okay, my body responded. Now I have to be facing to the camera. So that's also an event. So events is something very, very common across. We come into 1,000 instances during our day, from our live samples, like switching on a button and the light triggers on, hitting somebody and somebody responds back, hitting us. That's as simple as that. What iEvents does is we have wonderful products here at Adobe I, and we have creative products, cloud products, and experience cloud products, AEM, which Peter's going to talk more about today, also has all these products has events that are associated so that developers do not have to I don't know if you guys remember the old era when you had to actually subscribe or make a call to an API for everything and then code it down. We're just simplifying that effort now. All you have to do is subscribe to events, and you will be able to use and respond to particular product events without actually writing an entire code. So it's like we're trying to power low code, no code integrations. Then besides that, I think we're with iEvents, the kind of feedback we get from our customers is that it has helped them streamline their workflows, also improve marketing performances, and more developers and non-developers are able to respond to user behavior, which is key right nowadays with everything going AI. We need more and more quicker responses, more, I would say, targeted and personalized experiences and real-time responses. And this is what all iEvents is going to do. I'll dive in a little bit more, and I'll take a pause if any questions.
Yeah, so there are no questions yet. So it's a good thing to mention. Anyone that's watching this, make sure you're logged into YouTube so that you can add a question in comment. So in the comment field, you can just throw something in there and we'll put it up. We'll do questions at the end, but if there's anything kind of timely, I may interrupt and ask the question. Okay, so one of the things I did want to get clarity on. So for IO events, each product, like, we're talking about Adobe Experience Manager, but it could be Campaign or, Journey Optimizer or Analytics or something. So each of the products that we have specified events that they make available to developers, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I was actually going into that a little more.
Okay, sorry. I'm preempting you. I do apologize.
That's good. So what iEvents is actually doing, it is based on a pub/sub model. It's a very famous framework, which is a publisher and subscriber model. What does a pub/sub model do? Here with iEvents, all the Adobe product teams are actually publishers. So it's like all the product teams can publish their own events and surface them on Developer Console, which Peter's going to show you in a demo today. And from there, all the developers or all the users can actually subscribe to to the events through Developer Console. So basically it's working from product teams at Adobe who are making their events available, and to the subscribers or the developers who can actually subscribe to those events. And this is how the PubSub model works. The best part is we also have IO Runtime, which is Adobe's fast offering, and that comes pre-integrated with IO events. So there are times you would want to just subscribe to an event and execute a function which can be written in runtime, and it's all pre-integrated. It comes as a package. Ron has covered several times about this before, but I just wanted to bring this to notice as well. I'll take a pause if any questions, Ron, if you have something. If not, I can talk about, okay, I can quickly talk about how we can consume events. So there are two consumption mechanisms for events. So as a subscriber, if I go to the developer console, a developer console you just have to be logged in to the developer console. You would choose which product events you would want to subscribe to. And then once you subscribe to those events, it's going to ask you, how would you want to consume those events? And these events are available through two mechanisms. One is journaling, and second is webhook. So generally, these two are the mechanisms. They're bringing more mechanisms to subscribe to events, which are going to be very exciting. You will hear from us, from developers live. So in journaling, it's like a ledger. So there's a log there where you'll see a lot of entries. All these entries would be added in that ledger. Everything you're going to be subscribed to, and your application is going to be reading from that ledger. It's like just old school reading a book, or rather reading from your teacher's notebook when you're copying notes. That's something like that. Whereas webhooks is more like a pull mechanism. Journaling is more for situations or use cases where you would want to keep a log of all these events, whereas webhook, it's more like, push mechanism for webhook and pull mechanism for journaling. And I can clarify that if that's not clear. Webhook, you would just, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I think in Peter's section, I think there's a slide that we can kind of show when Peter gets into this, to kind of talk about the different types of events.
Sounds
and then we can discuss more about the push pull journaling and all that jazz, right, Peter?
That's true. Yeah. By the way, is my slide on already?
No, it's not. So I have not thrown it up yet. But why don't we jump into to Peter, your section, and then Kanik and I will be here, and we will join your presentation. As you go along.
I need your support.
So awesome. So are you ready for me to share your slides? Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Perfect. So go ahead, Peter, and take it away.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Kanika, for the intro. So we've been talking about and working on AEM APIs and events for some time now, especially for AEM as a cloud service. And now it's the first time that we can see both together in action. Now, I probably don't need to explain much about APIs. Those are to call functions on remote systems. You can pass on data, you can retrieve data, and this all is made to run business logic in a distributed environments landscape. Now, what can you do with events? As Kanika pointed out, everything that happens inside of AEM can be an event, whether it's a publish of a page, whether it's an upload of an asset, whether there's a user submitting a form in AEM forms. Literally everything can be an event. And what does it bring to the table now, together with APIs? So it's adding the real-time processing dimension to it. So it's adding the fourth dimension, if you want, so the time factor. So you can basically do everything with APIs. You can do CRUD operations, whatever, right? And events can trigger now a real-time execution, and that's giving you a countless number of use cases. You could think of use cases like where you pass on headless content. Once you modify the content, you can publish it and send it downstream to other native apps. You can update external search engines, and so forth and so forth. Lots of different use cases possible. Today I'm going to show you one use case that's also a real-world use case. It's called managing AEM audit logs. Now, what is that? So there is every now and then there's a customer coming from a regulated industries, from a media industry, asking for a long retention audit logs management. So they need to store the audit logs for, let's say, 7 to 10 years because of policies, because of laws, etc. And content management systems are historically not made for that. You have content, you are managing content, but not the data for a long time, and especially not under the archival aspects. And so audit logs are representing the actions, the updates that are being made to content. So whenever there's something published or someone creates something or deletes something, that is being logged so that you can keep track of who did what and when. That's the whole story here. Now, the idea with this use case is that we would externalize that into a separate database outside of AEM, and where the customer could basically manage the retention on his own. He could build the UI around it, some lightweight, simple UI to manage the audit logs on his own and really do the stuff that he's really needing. So because every customer is a little different, and that's why this is the perfect use case. And the idea here really is to move to push the events from AEM via I/O into an external database. Now there's lots of machinery involved here. You probably don't need to spend much attention on the prepare part. As you can see on the build part, there's the developer console involved, where you manage APIs, events, and consumers, as Kanika pointed out as well. And then you would use, or in my demo case, I'm using the local app builder to build this logic into a runtime action, or a runtime function, as I call it. And that's giving me this mechanics that whenever an event's coming into I/O, telling me, hey, there has been something published, then I can go back with this function into AEM and ask for the actual content. Let's say when a page is being published, then I go back and ask, like, show me this page, what it looks like. And then from there, I pick the data that I need to create my insert statement into the database. That's giving me the information like what was changed, who did it, like when was it done, etc., etc. That's the whole simple story here.
So hold on a second. So the whole audit trail. One of the questions I had was, so we've had events in AEM forever, right? We've had so I think one of the things that we didn't maybe cover clearly is we're talking about AEM, specifically cloud service, right? So as AEM, you've got AEM on-prem, you've got managed services. With cloud service, one of the directions that we've moved is certainly bringing more things out of the core of AEM and moving them into out of process or kind of adjacent services. And so with, I think these cloud native events, we've changed or we've, I guess, updated events to be more cloud native, like AEM cloud service itself. Correct, Peter?
You name it, Ron. The idea here is really for cloud service. It's really to go more cloud native, cloud service with this mantra in mind, and that means less custom, more out of the box, less self configuration. It's more about subscribing, less about building, more about using. So that's the paradigm shift that we see coming from on-prem going to cloud service, right? And for that we build up the whole infrastructure that is then taking the customer wouldn't have to deploy any custom code. He wouldn't have to deploy anything, any component, proxy, whatever. He doesn't need to touch the AEM runtime. He's just going to the developer console, subscribing to the events he needs, and then the only thing that needs to be done is this custom logic in the runtime function. Everything else is set up, standardized, and just usable. That's the idea behind this. And
it's great. So it should be
cloud service, really. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So it should be a lot easier for developers to set up these events and these event-driven applications. Yeah.
That's the idea. Yes, indeed.
There's a question in the comment section. I'll just take a minute to answer that. So Dylan asks, is there a list of available events somewhere which we can subscribe to? Yes, there is a documentation that's available on our developer docs. I just posted the link. If somehow, Ron, it's not working. It didn't post a comment. So if you would just want to look at that. But there is documentation available, and Dylan will just post it in the comments.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I will, as Peter's going on, I will get that link up there.
And in addition, you would also see all event types that are available. You get to see them in the developer console itself from where you would subscribe. Okay, let me move ahead. Okay, not there yet. So I need to switch to the actual demo here. Okay, so give me a second. So first thing, I'm really going end to end here, and I hope you can follow. And if not, just let me know, right? Not going too deep, but like broad and hopefully clear and enough. And then if there's questions, let me know. So this is the Cloud Manager. I need to search my AEM environment, which is, sorry for Peter. Okay, this is it. I go to it right away. So this is the environment where I want to manage my content. And so I need to dehibernate it because it's a sandbox.
So Peter,
and so yeah, go ahead.
So you've already pre-configured this environment on your Cloud Manager, right?
It was there already, yes. Okay. It was there already. So the AEM environment was up and running, and otherwise it would have taken too long here to really demo that.
So there's some steps in the beginning then that we've left out that are in the documentation that somebody could follow. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just actually the starting point to where how you could reach your AEM environment in cloud service. You go to Cloud Manager, and then from there you get to see. Let me go back here. This is your program, like your context.
Yep.
And here you have all your environments listed and so forth. This is a quick jump to your AEM environments. All of them, like author, publish, and so forth. And you can manage configurations, you can manage the deployments here and all of that. I'm just mentioning it because, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, so are events specific to the program that you're setting up, right? So they point to the specific program you've set up, the environment.
That's a very good. Yeah, you're making a good point, Ron. You need to select the AEM environment from where you want to catch the events, which makes a lot of sense because you might have like different environments, right?
Yeah.
You want to you need to select this one environment to subscribe to specific event types. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Let's move on. So what you need to do is here you need to configure your user and in admin console. So the admin of your org needs to do the steps for you. He would go ahead, select this user, would make sure there is the sufficient rights. Let me pick one up here, just so that you have seen this. And oh, now I'm lost. Okay. So let's not waste time here on searching the right user. Let's assume I've prepared everything for that user, so he has to have developer rights and admin rights. And the plan is that you don't have to have admin rights in the near future, so that every developer can basically go ahead and do this stuff. But the user with this profile has to have developer rights. That's the whole point here. With that in mind, you could go to the developer console. Sorry.
Quick clarification question, Peter. So when you say the user has to has rights, developer rights, is it in the console or is it for AEM user management?
It's in the console for the product profile of your AEM environment. Yeah, not sure if I can. So this is your cloud service, and then here, this is your author environment. So you would go here and pick the right user and give him developer rights. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that was great. Thanks for the question, because actually adding developers to admin console and for doing this kind of development work in App Builder is a common question that we get for folks working with App Builder. So that was great to highlight.
Cool. So the developer console is leaving me in the dark a little bit. I'm doing a refetch here.
So as you're doing that, let me just clarify. We've got another question on developer rights and admin rights. So essentially, when you have an Adobe product, you use something called the admin console to manage access to those, either as an admin or developer, depending on what rights somebody has to that product. Developers, we have this user type called a developer, that if you want to develop anything for an Adobe product, AEM, what have you, analytics, you would go in there to that IMS org. Every product is assigned to the org. Say you happen to work at some large company, and your large company has an org that you would, all your products show up in, and all of your users would log into that org. You would then, as a developer, get access to that would then allow you to develop content, and then depending on the type of developing you're doing, the admin then potentially would have to push that out.
Yep.
Yeah. So developer profile and cloud manager. So yeah, that's
a
the kind
separate long topic to run.
Yes, exactly. So we're not going to go to that. So the challenge is like AEM has its own developer console, right? And then you've got the Adobe developer console, which is different for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's I agree. It's misleading. It's not the best pick. Like to have to have it the same name 2 times for different things. I totally agree. That's we're referring to AEM developer console and to Adobe developer console.
There you go.
So
we'll name it. Go ahead, Peter.
Cool. I arrived finally in the developer console, and the first thing I need to do, you saw my AEM environment, and the first thing I need to do is build a connection to that AEM environment, because I want to manage the authentication / authorization from within this developer console. I don't want to go ahead and create keys manually here and there and store it, and everything is managed herein. And the way to do it is you create a separate project here, and then you would add an API, and you pick this AEM as a cloud service APIs card, move on, and there you have your server-to-server authentication. And you just finish that off by saying, hey, I need this user. That's the user that I just configured in the admin console, and say save configured API, just like that. And so that gives you the credentials that you need. Whenever you go back and use AEM APIs to fetch content or whatever you do within AEM, this is establishing the connection, basically. The second step that we need to do is let's subscribe to the events that I want to catch from that AEM environment, right? Again, I'm going to the landing page here on the developer console. It's a little bit slow this morning, but seems okay. Okay. I create a new project. This time I created with a template, from a template, let's say. And I want to have the app builder template because I want to build my function with a local app builder. And that's why I set it up. Names doesn't matter here. And I go next. By default, it's giving me a prod and a stage environment. Doesn't really matter what to start with. I take the stage for now and add an event. And now it's getting interesting. Let's say for my use case, audit logs, I want to catch the event whenever a content fragment is published. For that, I would choose this card. It's split by AEM solutions here. You already see sites and assets, and other solutions are coming up next. So I'm gonna pick AEM sites, click next. And what you see here is, again, you have to select that particular AEM environment that we just looked at, which is this one here. So from there, I want to catch the events, and then I go next. Up here, you can see the available event types in sites. That's what I'm just mentioned. Like if you don't see it in the documentation, or if you don't want to look it up in the documentation, it's all listed here. Everything that's available is listed out here, and so you can really select what you want. In this case, I go for the content fragment model. No, not the model. I want to catch the content fragments published. So that's what I'm after. Go next. It's giving me the server-to-server connection. This time it's not to AEM. This time it's to the actual streaming server on I/O. You would call it journaling API. And then I say next. And what I get here is I can add some description and naming to this, to my subscription, to my event subscription. And now we're getting to a decision tree. And I need to switch to my slide deck here. So there's this decision to make. Kanika mentioned it beforehand in her introduction. You can choose now how you want to consume your AEM events. One option is the webhooks, where you just reroute your AEM to some AEM events to somewhere else. And the simplest an example would be Slack. You can just like reroute it to Slack. It's easy. You can configure that easily in Slack, like a webhook, and then you get the tier URL, and then you're done basically. Like everything that's coming out of AEM is ending up in Slack. Whether that's useful or not, it's an option, right? The second option is the journaling API itself. So if you decide that you want to, consume your events in batches or on schedule or however, the events are just there, and you can retrieve them via the journaling API, and you decide like how often you want to get them from there, and so forth and so forth. There's a 7-day retention. It's scalable. It's a solid solution if you want to do it on demand. And then you have a third option, which is what I mentioned already, the I/O runtime, where you can define actions in a serverless and therefore very lightweight manner. You can define what the events are supposed to do in real time. In my example, as I mentioned, I go with option 3, just to show you what it would look like in an app builder environment. Okay, going back to the Adobe Developer Console. So this would be my runtime action. And then I would now have to create that action first so that I can match it to this configuration. And that's what I'm doing right now. I go to on my local desk, and let me say I'm not app builder expert. So there was quite some learning curve for me the last days, but I managed to set it up. Install first the I/O SDK. And to set up the app builder project, there would be a command, something like that. And then the app name, audit log, and then I would create a standalone app. So that command would look something like this. And I'm not doing it here because it would take time, and I'm prepared already. It would not fit here. But
I'm
let
happy
me
to
show you what.
see that, Peter, we've made you an app builder expert. That's great.
No, it's fun, really. I mean, I'm a Node.js fan anyway, so I was glad that I can play with Node.js here. So what you see here is the project that this command that I just showed you, this init command, was preparing for me. Actually, it's all there. You can start right away. You get this package description. You get all this configuration option files, like this environment parameters and all of that. You get the deployment file, and you just need to do little changes here. By default, it's setting up the this as a web client. I don't need that. I just need an action. I don't need a web server. That's why I commented this out. But the important part is here: actions, audit log action, index.js. That is my action. So it's up here again, index.js, because it was supposed to be a web, but that doesn't matter. Names doesn't matter. I'm using this JavaScript file to build my function in there. So let me walk you very quickly through that, so that you get kind of a high-level understanding. What IO does for me is it catches the event that I subscribe to. When it's coming in, it's catching the event. It's building this instance on a serverless environment. It's building this action instance. It's catching the event, and it's passing it on to this main function. So I get this event into my action right here as a parameter. And with that, I have full control over it, right? I can do whatever I want. And so what I'm doing here is I'm getting some information out of it, like the ID and then the path, etc. And the next thing I'm doing here is I'm getting that access token. And that's a separate function that I have down here. And that doesn't do much more than actually go to AEM, go to the AEM environment, and get the access token. Just because I think it's best practice not have to have the access token lying around somewhere, etc. Maybe there's better options, but I was choosing this option because it's always getting the freshest token that's around there. So kind of check on that point. And the next thing that I'm doing is I'm going to AEM again and fetching the content fragment. I have to explain the event that just came in from that content fragment that was published. The event from that is just an envelope. It's not the whole content fragment. So there's not much payload to that event in particular, just because it could be way too much. Events are not supposed to hold the actual content load. It could be big pages, it could be assets, whatever, right? And so the decision was made to have just manage these events and have the necessary data in there, and then you could go ahead and do whatever you want. You could go back and use the API to get the actual content via the API, if that's the plan, if that's your use case. So back to my code here, actually. So we go back and fetch from AEM the content fragment. You will have, by the way, you will notice that I'm using await statements all over the place here, and that's just to make sure that it's waiting for the API to come back. It's giving what I want, and then do the next step. Otherwise, you're ending up with unpredictable issues. So what do I do next? I have my JSON now. That is the whole content fragment that I got freshly from AEM. That's the actual content. It's not the event anymore. It's the actual content from AEM. And I'm decomposing it. I'm getting the data out of it and transforming it into a SQL insert statement, just like that. And the next step is obviously to dump it against the external Azure database. And that's basically it already. So what this app builder template is giving me is the full framework to build my code here, but to build my function and to deploy it. There's Webpack underneath, so it packages exactly what is needed to run this function. And so it's a very convenient, a very efficient way to deploy your action. Now we want to test it in action, right?
Yeah.
Now that we deployed it, yeah, and the actual command is nothing more than something like that, deploy, and then it's going over there. It goes to runtime. It's just like that. It's super easy. Really lightweight development. Okay, what I need to do now, I need to go to my AEM environment because I just want to test it. I want to make sure the event is being triggered. So, and that's why I go to the content fragment admin console. I think we're still good on time, right? 15 minutes left.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes left.
Cool.
While it was loading, I just wanted to compliment your demo smoothness. It's the best demo without any technical issues.
Oh, come on, you're jinxing them. Okay, go ahead, Peter. Let's see how it goes.
Cool. Yeah. So I created a my magic content fragment already. And indeed, there's nothing magic other than that I can better memorize that name. And so this is my content fragment. It's very simple. It has a title and there's some text around it. And just to make sure I recognize the changes later in the database, I'm gonna change it. I write something like this, and then I publish it. Run effect means wow effect,
yes,
isn't it?
I'm honored. Thank you very much. You went from the powwow effect to the Ron effect, so hopefully that's a good thing.
That's this upgrade, yeah. This is out now. The content fragment has been published from the AEM author environment to the AEM publish environment. Now, the only remaining thing that we need to check is whether it arrived on this database, right? And for that, I have so-called MySQL workbench, and this kind of legacy that's from my last life or so. I'm not used to work much with relational database, but for this case, it's actually ideal. So let me set off this select statement. And let's see what's in the table now. So as you can see here, this is the new. I deleted some of them for visibility. So this is the new row here. You have this content fragment path. You have the content itself, which doesn't fit into this small columns. You would have to open it up. And then you have columns like last modified, date time, last modifier, user ID, then who published it, and when. Basic information, but you're best off by having this kind of data in a structured table, really. So you don't need to traverse or make imagine you would have to search for that data in an environment where you keep your logs for 10 years. That's you bring your AEM environments onto the knees with those queries, right? And here it's very simple. You just look it up with a simple SQL query statement. And so what you witness here is when I press the button, the publish button before to publish the content fragment. So that action, that event is stored for eternity here. That's the little use case.
Yeah,
and what's
great.
supposed to thanks, Ron. What's supposed to show you is not just that audit logs can be built now this way or the other way. It actually testifies that AEM as a cloud service is delivering now extensibility, and you can build integrations now out of the box. It's an open platform now in a distributed landscape, and with AEM as the as the content gravity, so to speak. That's it. I don't want to go deeper into. I could show you more of the developer console where you can see the details, like the events are coming in. You can witness the what the JSON looks like. You can also use the journaling API in the developer console. All of that's lots beautiful things to discover, but I really don't want to stress it unless, Kanika, you want to spend a minute to reflect what's all there, what's new on developer console. Otherwise, we could maybe talk a little bit more and open up for questions.
Yeah, so that ties into a couple of things. So we did have a question, and I wanted to clarify that. I'm going to throw it up. So can the events be pushed from Adobe Managed Services into Developer Console, or is it only compatible with AEM as a cloud service? I don't know if you guys have an answer for that one.
Yeah, it's this is tailored to cloud service only for now.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to run it on Adobe Managed Services, you would have to use the eventing solutions that is available as well. But I'm not too familiar with that. That would be Kanika could tell a bit more about it. But this is also the invite to our customers to come to cloud service, by the way. It's because it makes life much easier.
Exactly. Exactly. Go ahead, Kanika.
So just to answer that, so we do have a package that is available right now, but I think as Peter said, we are recommending everybody to move to cloud services. It's way easier, more efficient. It would just enhance the entire productivity at all. So, but in case you would want to take a look, we do have an SDK that's open source, which you can use for subscribing to all the product events, including AEM. And we also have an AEM add-on Trem package, which is available. So I'll share the documentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Kanika. And then one of the questions I had before we get into the journaling, so you showed events, you showed a list of events, right, with the content fragment events. Those are the events that we get out of the box. There's other events, right? So in order to see those events, do we go to the documentation, or do we just go into like, what are the possible events that you could use with this? Is there like a master list someplace?
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you look it up, like on documentation or here in cloud service. Both are being fed by what's available. Really, the documentation is also just a dynamic rendition of what's rolled out in code. So the idea here really is, and that's probably differentiates it from what was available before. We only so far support content fragments and content fragments model, just because we started to support the headless use case, which is a very hot topic with lots of customers. In fact, we have an early onboarding customer from the car industry who wants to feed his native apps from the content that's being managed on AEM, and so there's he's using the events to do so. But we're committed. Like, we have the events team is backed by principal engineers from each solution, and the way we want to run this with customers is VIP style. And just in case you haven't heard it, like, we have a little bit of a mantra switch here in the AEM org. VIP means we would handhold, or we would go together with the customer. We would open a Slack channel. We would directly get in touch with the customer on a daily basis, very agile, very direct communication to make progress on what the customer actually needs. We call it culture texture. And it's supposed to make early validations on what the customer is really needing, where the customer sees value, and we actually are supposed to confirm on this value hypothesis early on. That's why we kind of rush with the customer to get it out, get things done with. And with this, we would look at what does the customer actually need? Like what event type is needed? We don't want to push out, let's say, a couple hundred event types and see what's being used. That doesn't make much sense. And also, it could be like the requirements from the customer. We can take that into account. What I can tell is next up would be assets, some assets types like assets process and assets updates and so forth. And then next on is AEM forms with some special event types. But again, we're starting lean and mean, and we want to go deep and broad over time. And we appreciate every customer who wants to work with us from the beginning, and we are committed to to create success as efficient as possible. That's the modus operandi we want to drive this topic.
Okay, that was great. So we've got about 4 minutes left. I just want to Klaus asked a question early on, and I've kind of been holding on to it, but and I know we don't have the screen up anymore, but should customers be able to find the AEM API in Developer Console? So essentially, when you went through the demo and you were showing, okay, we're going to add this. So if they are an AEM as a cloud service customer and they're a developer in that org, they would see that. Is that correct?
Yes. So let me go back quickly. Not sure if I can find it. So you would add a project, and then you would say, okay, give me another. So let's go to the.
So you went over to add service. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would add a service. I would choose API, and then I click Experience Cloud. And here, AEM as a cloud service APIs. I would take off this card, and boom, done.
Okay, and that's as long as you're an AEM as a cloud service customer, you would see that, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. We're using AEM. We're using APIs into Cloud Manager and the cloud service infrastructure. Yeah, okay. Everything is connected. Yeah,
gotcha. Okay, thank you for answering that. Those were the questions that we had. Dylan had this question about, is there a list? And yeah, we've put that into the comments. So the list with the events that you could subscribe to, specifically for what we're talking about today, as Peter mentioned, it is primarily content fragments and content fragment model are the two areas that we're tackling now. And as he mentioned, assets and forms are what we're working on today. And if you, to just add to what Peter said, if you are a customer of ours and you want to see events that, are outside of that, definitely contact us. Let us know, and we would be happy to work with you on, whatever the use case is, and seeing if we can build that in.
No, absolutely. I would like to get in touch and review your use cases and get the hands on dirty. But at a minimum, I would like to know what you're looking for. That's very important to me. And you can mail me Klassen at Adobe, KLASSEN, or you find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Just let me know. Let us know what you're looking after, what you need to accomplish, and then we get the discussion rolling. Looking forward.
Awesome. Go ahead, Kanika.
Just to add to that, so in case you're not on the AEM CS as of now, and you want to use the old package, though we've posted a documentation, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can email me as well on kgear@adobe.com, or we are all available on LinkedIn too. I think, Ron, that covered one of your questions as well, how to reach to you guys, what are your social IDs?
Yep. All good.
And I left
Yeah.
the best part for the last. Even though some event types or those event types that you may look for are still not there yet, we can build it up very fast. But the main thing is the infrastructure is there. It's all there. It's up and running, and you can use it for free. There's no additional cost to it.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much. We have come to the end of our show. Thank you, Peter, for a great demo and great conversation. And Kanika, thanks for jumping in and joining us. Happy to have both of you today, and all of you that joined. Thank you so much. And again, if you've got any questions, reach out to us with the contact that they've given you, and have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.